And just finally, I wanted to ask you about the Italian sort of system and in his chances of getting into that World Cup, because as we know, it's a World Cup year. Italy's
Yeah.
national team, in spite of winning the Euros not too long ago, haven't exactly been pulling up trees left, right, and centre. Has he been spoken about in those sort of realms yet? He's played for the under-19s, but is he
Yeah.
already sort of on a pathway, like say, in conversations for maybe a World Cup spot?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that if his development were to continue this season, wherever that may be, whether it be Liverpool, Parma, or maybe another Italian club, if he were to continue on the trajectory that we've seen from him already, I would be amazed if he weren't involved in the World Cup squad if Italy get there, which is a really big if. I mean, a statistic that I kind of, it just sort of came into my mind this morning when I checked what year he was born. And he was born in December 2006. Now, it's staggering to me that he has never seen Italy play in a knockout game at a World Cup. That is remarkable, isn't it? That he has never seen that.
I was thinking about him
So,
missing Istanbul, let alone that. My God. Wow.
yeah, that's quite. I mean, obviously they won it in 2006, but since they won it,
So, yeah.
they've never got out of the group
That's
stage. And
just
of course,
wrong.
it is, isn't it? It's astonishing, really. But, whilst they've not made the greatest of starts to the qualification phase, they've got a new coach now with Gattuso coming in. So we'll see how that works out. But absolutely, to answer your question, yes, he is somebody that people in Italy are talking about as somebody who can certainly make. I mean, I don't believe he's made his under-21s debut yet. So that might be the first thing. But I would imagine that he's the type of player who could well get fast-tracked into the senior side. And as I mentioned earlier, another one to keep an eye on is Camuzzo at Fiorentina. He's another one who I see who could become really important for Italy as a starter. Of course, they've already got the more experienced Bastoni there. Buongiorno is there. So Italy right now, I would say, are pretty blessed with young centre backs. The future looks pretty bright for them there. Are they of the same class as people like Chiellini and Bonucci and Baresi and people like this of the past? That's up for debate. For the modern game, I think they're going to be very competitive in terms of standard for centre backs, and he's certainly one who'll come into the reckoning there. Yeah, so it's with a player making a move at that age, a player with such a high ceiling of so much promise. Obviously, the moves that they make, the decisions that they take via their parents, their agents themselves, it is so important for how their career pans out. And I just, as much as I really like this player, again, I go back to what I said at the beginning, that it's just a concern for me that if he needs to play. And I'm concerned if he comes to Liverpool, how much he would play to begin with. Now, only the club will know what their plan is for him. And as you've said, Liverpool have got a recent history of getting players and paying big money for players, but then loaning them back or sending them on loan for a year and until they feel that they've matured enough. If I would suspect, I don't know, but I would suspect that could be the plan here, but we'll see.
No, it's a really interesting sort of factor in this deal, as you rightly say, because I go down and watch the academy semi-regularly at Liverpool, and I would be staggered if we signed a lad for 35 million and all of a sudden he's playing for under 21s. Like, it doesn't feel like something is going to happen whatsoever. So, yeah, I do think, and again, you can't forget about Joe Gomez. As much as he's currently sidelined, he's still a top-class operator when he is fit and available. So all of a sudden, you'd like Italy in the future, maybe, you go from having two defenders like we've got now to having five senior, in inverted commas, centre-backs, and Leoni would arguably be number five out of that. So are you stunting his developments and blocking that pathway, really, which I know something Liverpool are desperate not to do with Rio and Gamoa and indeed youngsters, full
Yeah.
stop.
So,
Go on.
something that would be, you don't see very often, but this for me would be very interesting if Liverpool decided to do this, because as we've both said, and I think it's no secret at all, just about every single one of the sort of the established elite Italian sides would like to have him. And I think for a lot of them, you probably have a good chance of starting. I wonder whether you would expect normally, you would expect a player coming from a club like Parma, a sort of a middle of the road, a team that were fighting relegation last season, but I think will do a little bit better this season. Then normally they would go straight back to the team that they've come from. I wonder whether Liverpool might consider buying him and then loaning him back to Italy, but to a bigger side. That could be another option that they might look at, because I think he's capable. I think it would need to come clearly with guarantees that he would be in the conversation to be a regular starter. But that just might be another option that Liverpool could look at.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think that was at one point on the table for Mamdashvili, actually. There was definitely murmurings of a move to Bournemouth at the time, and then they went and got Kepa
Mm.
instead. But obviously, that was a Richard Hughes link, and ironically, there's a lot of Richard Hughes links to Serie A in Italy, so maybe that's why
Yeah.
we're doing a little bit of shopping there as well. Just finally, I saw you mention on Twitter he wasn't in your Serie A team of the season, but you questioned beneath that in terms of like who are the ones we need to look out for, and you named him as one of the special players in which to keep an eye on. Now, he looks like he could well be making a move to Liverpool. Do you think, from everything you've seen, everything you've heard, do you think he is ready for this? And this is sort of a next step in his career needs to happen one way or another.
Is Leone, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so difficult to assess because I think all the different things that I'll be checking for a young player to see whether I think that they're mature enough at that age to make a move like that. He ticks the boxes. I mean, just to give you an idea, I read an interview with him only last night because my first Italian game of the season is Juve against Parma, so I was actually reading up on him anyway. And I read a quote from him where he said, I don't have airs or graces. I just train, I work hard, and I give 100%. He's very sort of no nonsense. And I think that would be so important. Ability wise, I've no doubt at all that he can play in the Premier League now. He can play in the Premier League now. I've no doubt about that. Because one of the key factors for me when I'm assessing a young player coming from a different league is that physicality, because it's undoubtedly a big factor in the Premier League, and they need to have it, particularly if they're playing in that position. So that's another big tick. So yes, he's ready for the Premier League. Is he ready for a club the size of Liverpool? For me, is a question that I don't really feel anyone can answer until it's happened. And I think you're always going to have that element of doubt. And clearly, a lot on that will depend on. I think, you know what? And this is something, again, that I saw the other day where I read that I thought Chiesa would be on his way this summer. But I read the other day that Liverpool now have told him that they want him to stay, partly because, of course, that they've lost players in attack. And I wonder as well whether the another reason it would be very handy to have Chiesa around is to help the integration of Leone, because I think it would be really beneficial to have another Italian there, and certainly one with plenty of experience as Chiesa has. So I don't know whether that is another reason why Liverpool would like Chiesa to stick around, but I think that could actually help him adjust and acclimatise. That could really help him actually if Chiesa was around, because Chiesa is somebody who's really well respected in Italy. Obviously, his dad was a fine player as well. So I think he's somebody that Leone would really benefit from being around.
It makes an abundance of sense. On that point, actually, I know that was my last question, but I'm going to ask you now anyway. You've kind of just reminded me. English? Does he speak English, Leone,
I
at
don't
all?
know about that.
No.
I don't
Okay.
know. No, I'm sorry. I don't know about that. But yeah, I think that the Italians. I'm actually learning Italian at the minute.
Okay.
I'm about 50 days in, and it's tough.
Duolingo.
Yeah, Duolingo. Yeah, I finally took the plunge because I've been thinking of doing it for ages, and I just thought, right, I was having the summer off. I haven't done any work
Oh,
since
nice.
early June, so I thought, right, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna try and learn it. So I'm sure that somebody of that age would pick things up quite quickly. But no, that's one thing I don't know. I don't know whether he does speak English,
No,
but
it's just an interesting element.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think you do find a lot of young Italians know basic English, perhaps not so much as perhaps your Scandinavian nations and stuff like that. But I'd be surprised if he didn't have he didn't know little bits of English, but who knows? I'm sure we'll find out in the fullness of time on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because it can be quite a daunting thing leaving your home to go
Yeah.
anywhere, but then obviously the language barrier is another sort of hurdle in which to cross. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure he'll learn, lump it, and get it down the channel quickly enough, or if in doubt, whack it out, something like that. Or some Scouse phrases along the way. He'll know what boss means first day.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that. Adam, top man, thank you so much for your time. Massively, massively appreciated.
Pleasure.
And everybody else, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Take care. I'll see you soon.